Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming. So today, just to start off with, we're in South London. We're under a small brick arch that runs under a road. We're in the Vauxhall Brixton area of South London, and that's all I can say about this area. But anyway, the point of today's video, it sort of follow on to some of the things I've already talked about quite a few times on the channel, which is messages in games and wokeness in games, Dragon Age, Veilguard, and actually it's something someone mentioned in a comment, and I thought it was such an interesting premise that I thought I'd make a very small video about the comment to see what everybody else thought, because everyone may not read the comments. And I will do that sometimes. If someone brings up something and I think it's a good thing to talk about, then I will make a little video on it. So the comment was that artists who work on games are artists and they can express themselves in whatever way they wish, and it's up to them what they do. There's going to be always a difference in what people think is good and bad in creativity. And I thought about that when I read the comment, and I thought yes and no, and I'm going to kind of summarise my reply and kind of why I think that. And like I said, this is just my thought, and I'm just interested in what people think, really. So I think yes, artists are creative, and if you're an artist making a painting or making a sculpture or that kind of thing, you're at liberty to do whatever you want. Even in music, you're at liberty to do whatever you want, because it's your dime and you can be as creative and as individual as you want. But when you're making a product to sell, particularly to sell it en masse, whether it's a movie or whether it's a TV series or whether it's a AAA game, I'm talking about little indie games, then you're obliged to A, respect the franchise, if it's a franchise ongoing, and B, the content of the type of game it's meant to be, because the point to the game is to sell it as well. That's the point. So even if you're a group of creative people working on a game and it's a AAA game, your purpose is not to express yourselves other than in the context of the game and how it will sell. Your purpose isn't just say what you want and do what you want because that's okay because you're creative, because that's not what you're meant to do, and that's not your buck, it's not your money that's doing it. And these games cost tens and hundreds of millions of pounds to make. Also, I would argue that wokeness and any message, religious messages, political messages, woke messages in games is not creative. It's not an expression of somebody's creativity. It's a message, and that's a different thing to creativity. And yes, you could merge blur that. You could make a painting that's got some political, woke, religious message, maybe. But again, that's your own painting, which you may or may not be bothered if you sell, and that's a different thing. But in a game, as in a movie, if you make a Hollywood movie, I'm not talking about indie movies, then you're obliged to try and make a movie that will sell. You can't just go in and think, I'll just put whatever I fancy in the movie because that's what I want to do, because the studio's bankrolling you. There's lots of other people who are being paid to make the movie, and the idea is to sell the movie. So I think it's a different thing. And I think when you are in gaming, like I said, AAA gaming or even AA gaming, boundaries between those things are quite small nowadays, then I think you're obliged to set a certain standard. You can't just kind of do what you want. Yes, people are creative, but creativity is also an open question. So if you there's lots of things you can do where you can be creative. There's lots of jobs in gaming where, whether it's just the programmers or whether it's the designers or the script writers, where there's lots of creativity. But it's a whole different creative process than a painter or a sculptor or a musician. And also, I think that the creative processes can be many things. Someone who makes a chair can be creative. Someone who makes there's lots of things you can do that are creative. So creative is a very broad term as well. But I think certainly if your premise to doing anything is to try and sell to the mass market, and the product you're working on isn't your own product, it's not bankrolled by you, and your aim is to sell it, then you're bound by certain things, and you can't kind of just do what you want. And like I said, other than that, I don't think it's creative in any context of creativity to put messages, whether they're political or woke or religious, into any content. Like I said, you could argue in a painting or something or sculpture, you may embody that in your sculpture or painting, but that's just something you're doing as your expression of your own art. You can make that in your own home and never show it to anybody, or you may try and sell it in a small gallery, but that's up to you. It's a different thing altogether. Anyway, so that's my thought. Like I said, I'm not saying everyone has to agree with me, but that's my kind of feeling on it. So I'm interested to see what other people think, as I always am. Anyway, take care for now. From Guessagaingaming, till next time.